It's a good idea to have a final checklist to double-check the critical items immediately before takeoff. I have always used "I can fly this puppy" if the instruments, controls, fuel, trim, and prop are all okay. ICFTP. Get it? Oh well, it's corny, but it works fine for me. There are a couple of other things to double-check, but for the moment, let's look at those. Instruments means everything is perfect, in the green, or working properly. Controls means checking to full travel and looking at them to make certain they move in the correct direction. Fuel means the selector is on a tank with adequate fuel. Trim means that the trim is set properly for takeoff. Prop means the control is full forward, given a constant speed prop. Neglect of these items has led to extremely serious accidents. On an airplane that requires flaps for takeoff, they need another check, and it's good to make certain your seat is latched. I hesitate to use the term, but professional pilots often refer to these last checks as relating to the killer items. We all consider the takeoff to be simpler than the landing, and certainly passengers are not as impressed by successful takeoffs as by perfect landings. They should be, though, because there are about equal numbers of serious accidents on takeoffs as landings. Landings do have more fender benders, so takeoffs are serious business too. Smooth acceleration to the proper speed, flawless directional control, a perfect rotation to the flying attitude, and an efficient initial climb make the transition to flight graceful and rewarding. Engine failures on takeoff are not desirable happenings in singles or twins, so risk management on takeoff has a lot to do with the power. The way we apply power to piston engines is important. Gentle throttle action is the key. Jamming a throttle forward can result in engine damage, and the bigger and more complicated the engine, the greater the need for gentle throttle action. Abruptly advancing the throttle on a turbocharged engine can result in serious engine damage due to overboosting. Something else that should be avoided is advancing the power while turning onto the runway. This can result in a side load on the landing gear, and in some airplanes, without the tanks full, a quick accelerating turn might move fuel enough to one side in the tank that it is away from the line that feeds the engine. That could result in a power interruption at or shortly after liftoff. When we fly away, we're taking what was dormant a few minutes ago and then asking it to develop a lot of horsepower and bring all the accessories up to speed. We're asking the old engine to go from idle to maximum on everything in just a brief moment. Certainly we don't have a lot of time on takeoff to monitor the instrument panel, but once the power is set, there is time to make a quick survey and abort the takeoff if anything doesn't look perfect. If the run-up was successful, everything should be okay, but a run-up and an application of full power are two different things. What might we catch? If the airplane has an EGT, you should know the normal EGT reading at full power and with the mixture set for takeoff, usually full rich. If the EGT is not normal, something is amiss in the combustion process. And if you use the conservative method of calculating minimum runway length, 2.2 times the POH number, there should be plenty of room to abort the takeoff and stop. The EGT would show an abnormal reading were a piston engine to have some jet fuel pumped into its tanks. Any abnormality in fuel flow would also be obvious. Another thing to check is the prop RPM. If it's a fixed-pitch prop, you should know the expected RPM at the beginning of the takeoff run. If it's a constant speed, it should spin right up to the red line. If it doesn't, chances are the pilot missed something on the checklist twice and the prop control isn't full forward. If this is the case, the prop control shouldn't be abruptly jammed forward. Either move it forward smoothly or abort the takeoff and do it all over again. If the original checklist work was done that poorly, perhaps it should all be done again.